Imagine a crocodile that looks like a duck. No, it's not some kind of bizarre, scary creature from your nightmares, but a real prehistoric animal. This strange reptile was called an Anatosuchus and lived in what is now North Africa around 125 million years ago. And although it looked very different from modern crocodiles, it was actually much more closely related to them than you might think. Let's take a closer look at this bizarre beast. Hi, and welcome to Paleologic. Today, we're going to talk about the duck croc, Ankylosaurus minor. But before we get into it, make sure to subscribe so you won't miss out on any future videos. The Ankylosaurus minor was a small crocodilomorph. Now, if you don't know what a crocodilomorph is, don't worry, because there are only two living members of this group today, the American alligator and the Chinese alligator. All other crocodilomorphs have gone extinct. But back in the late Jurassic and the early Cretaceous, these animals were quite diverse and widely distributed. Some were terrestrial, others were fully aquatic, and some were even amphibious. In fact, they occupied many of the same ecological niches as the first dinosaurs did. So when the dinosaurs eventually took over, many crocodilomorphs went extinct. The Ankylosaurus minor was one of the last surviving crocodilomorphs of the early Cretaceous in North Africa. But how did it become so rare? Well, fossils tell us that it was around 4 meters long and weighed about 180 kilograms. It had a long, narrow snout that ended in a rounded tip, much like the bill of a duck. This is why it's often referred to as the duck croc. Although it did resemble an aquatic bird, though, it wasn't closely related to birds at all. Instead, it was more closely related to crocodiles. Its teeth were long, slender, and sharp, perfect for catching fish. Its forelimbs were also very robust and broad, indicating that it had a strong bite. Together, its powerful jaws and forelimbs would have made a great tool for digging through the substrate of shallow water along rivers and wetlands. When it comes to the rest of its body, we can't really say too much about it. This is because the fossil record is incomplete. The only fossils we have of the Ankylosaurus minor are a few isolated teeth and fragments of its skull, and one partial skeleton. So we've had to use comparative anatomy to fill in the blanks. Comparative anatomy is a method used by paleontologists where they compare the anatomy of similar animals to piece together the appearance and function of an extinct animal. We can do this because we assume that species who are closely related share a common ancestor somewhere in their distant past. Therefore, the more closely related two animals are, the more anatomical features they will share. So, using this method, we can estimate what the Anatosuchus looked like based on other crocodilians. Based on this approach, we think the Anatosuchus had short, stumpy legs and a long tail, much like a modern crocodile. It probably moved around on all fours when on land, but used its tail to steer itself when swimming. It likely spent most of its time in shallow water looking for food, just like today's American alligators. And it probably preferred slow-moving waters such as marshes and swamps. But why does the Ankylosaurus have such a unique duck-like bill if it was closely related to crocodiles? Well, part of the reason could be its diet. As mentioned earlier, it likely ate fish. But unlike modern crocodiles, which often use their cone-shaped teeth to grip and shake their prey underwater, the Ankylosaurus had long, slender teeth that were better suited for catching slippery fish. In order to do this, they would have needed to suck them up, much like a duck does with its prey. Suction feeding is an amazing adaptation seen in many aquatic animals such as turtles, fish, whales, and even giraffes. Basically, any animal that lives in or near water and needs to eat prey that moves quickly. When suction feeding, the animal creates a low-pressure environment inside its mouth. Then, once it gets close enough to its prey, it quickly opens its mouth, allowing water to rush in and suck the prey right in. To do this, an animal needs a flexible, mobile upper jaw. The skull of the Ankylosaurus was rigid, so it likely had to rely on suction feeding. Fish, like most prey animals, are very difficult to catch. They are constantly moving, which makes them hard to get close to. And once you finally do get close to them, Their sleek, slippery bodies are hard to grab onto. Because of this, many predators have evolved specialized adaptations to catch them. For example, ichthyosaurs had large eyes to spot them from far away. Dolphins have perfectly round mouths to keep their prey from escaping. And turtles have extremely strong jaws to crush their prey. The Ankylosaurus is no exception. Its duck-like bill was perfect for creating a seal underwater so it could suck up its prey without any water getting in its mouth. Now, you may be wondering why the Ankylosaurus needed to eat fish. Why didn't it just eat insects like a crocodile? Well, it's because it was adapted to live in shallow water. You see, crocodiles often inhabit deeper waters where there isn't much vegetation, which means there aren't many insects to eat. But the Ankylosaurus lived in the shallows where aquatic vegetation grew. This vegetation attracted insects, which then attracted fish. And so the Ankylosaurus was perfectly situated to take advantage of the abundant fish in the area. Another possible explanation for its unusual bill is related to sexual selection. Sexual selection occurs when members of the same species compete for mates. Often, one sex will compete for access to the opposite sex, and the traits that are selected for during this competition can lead to the evolution of bizarre structures. Take the male peacock's tail, for example. The longer the tail, the more attractive it is to females. But it's also more cumbersome and harder to hide from predators. Yet males continue to grow larger and larger tails because the benefits of attracting a mate outweigh the costs of being an easier target for predators. Something similar may have happened to the Ankylosaurus. Perhaps males grew more prominent bills because females preferred them. There is evidence that sexual selection played a role in the evolution of the Ankylosaurus, but we cannot say for sure what role, if any, it played in the development of its bill. Regardless, we can say with certainty that the Ankylosaurus was a generalist predator that fed on whatever small aquatic life it could find. It was perfectly adapted to its environment. Its bill was perfect for catching slippery fish. Its powerful jaws and limbs were perfect for crushing them, and its armored body was perfect for protecting it from its main predator, C. megalodon. That's right, the Ankylosaurus lived at the same time and in the same place as one of the largest and most ferocious predators of all time. And although the Ankylosaurus was well adapted to life in the Cretaceous, it still went extinct. This was most likely due to rising sea levels, which caused the regression of coastal wetlands and the formation of deeper waters. As mentioned earlier, the Ankylosaurus preferred shallow water with lots of vegetation. So when the landscape changed, it was unable to adapt and eventually died out. Today, the Ankylosaurus serves as a reminder of just how unpredictable nature can be. Who would have thought that the world's largest whale would have evolved from such small ancestors? Or that a crocodile would evolve to look like a duck? Nature never ceases to amaze me, and I hope it amazes you as well. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and leave a comment down below. I'm the host. This has been Paleo World, and we'll see you next time.